it's Renee from Imperfect Wholeness. So every single week I make this recipe for my husband, and it is something I got from a different recipe book that is, it equals to, for every muffin, it equals like to 1 serving of fruit. And my husband doesn't like to eat fruit and veggies very much, so I tend to have to like hide them in or make whatever. But I did this is a banana apple muffin, and I made this for him, and he actually really likes them. So I make them for his lunch every single week. Now he's been working at Saturdays, so I've kind of had to modify the recipe a little bit to actually get, when you make the original recipe, it only makes 9 muffins. So I would stretch it out and make it into 10, so he'd have 2 for a day, right? And then he would work Saturdays lately because they've been so busy, so I've been trying to stretch it out to 12. So I've adjusted that. Now also, with me going towards whole food eating, right, and trying to make things changes, not perfect, that's why it's Imperfect Wholeness, I've been trying to make this recipe a little more whole food friendly for my husband as well. And so there's still some things in this recipe that I'm making that are not necessarily whole food friendly, but it is part of the baking process, and then also to the taste and texture that my husband's used to. But I have made some adjustments to make them a bit healthier as we go. So these are banana apple muffins. Hold on. Forgot one of my key ingredients here. Okay, so we're gonna make a dozen of these muffins, and he'll eat 2 a day. They're really yummy. So basically you start off with some almond flour. So this is 2 cups of almond flour. You're gonna add a dash of salt. So again, salt's not on your whole food recipe, but because we are baking, got to have a little bit of that salt. And then baking soda, not powder, baking soda, and you need a teaspoon of that. 1 teaspoon of baking soda. All right, so that's it for our dry ingredients. Super simple, right? And yeah, there is a little bit of iodized salt in there. Again, because we're baking with the baking soda and flour, kind of need that salt to rise. I don't really know what the substitutes are right now for that in my start of my imperfect journey, right, towards whole foods. Oh yeah, I'm also sneaking in a little of the turmeric because that's very cancer fighting, so it's just 1/8 of a teaspoon of that. So the original recipe calls for 2 eggs. And this is where I've started making some adjustments in this recipe, is with the eggs. So the beautiful thing about eggs is flaxseed, which if you follow my Imperfect Wholeness Facebook page or Instagram page, you know how much flaxseed and how great that is for your health. And so you can use flaxseed, hold on. You can use flaxseed as a substitute for egg. So you use 1 tablespoon of flaxseed to 3 tablespoons of water and let it sit for at least 3 minutes. So that's what I've got going on in here. Also, you can use applesauce as a substitute for eggs. So I've been doing the applesauce and the flax and adding that and making it actually healthier. And actually the applesauce even makes it more moist without having to use the eggs. Okay, so my dry ingredients, they're mixed, we're good. So now for the bananas I bought, there's 1.5 bananas in here, and when I bought them today, they were all green. Like every banana in there was green. So what you're seeing here is I ripened them in the microwave for about a minute to soften them up so that we get the texture we need. And I just mash them with the masher, right? Because you got to get that mush down, so, because it's like a banana bread that we're making. But again, each muffin is equivalent to having 1 piece of fruit. And thankfully for me, my husband loves banana bread. And he likes apples, but it's not always easy for him to eat. So I do take 1/2 of an apple, and I use my chopper, and I chop it up into small little bits. So you're still getting that apple in there. And I peel it, because he doesn't like to chew the peel either, so I do peel it. Makes it look a little more appetizing as well because you don't have that weird red peel coming through. All right, so this is the other part that's going to be non-whole food based, plant-based, is I am adding a teaspoon of melted organic grass-fed butter. And again, it's because we're baking, and I'm baking these for my husband, so that adds a lot of flavor to it. Just a little bit. So, all right. So these are declared mashed. Now we're going to add in our flaxseed egg. Give that another stir. And I did try this with doing the 2 flaxseed eggs, but I found that the muffins kind of came out dry that way. So that's when I was like doing the research and finding about applesauce and how. So I just get organic, unsweetened, plain old applesauce. There's nothing in this but apples, which just adds more to the apple banana flavor. And I don't know what the equivalent of, I think it's like 1 giant tablespoon equals 1 egg, but because I use the flax egg as well, this tends to stay a little drier. So I kind of just play it by ear of how much of the applesauce I add to make it have the moisture it needs. Because when you start to add the ingredients together, you find out that it needs a little more moisture. So I'm going to add the wet ingredients to the dry. There we go. We're going to stir this up and then see if I need to add some more applesauce, which looks like I might. Almond flour too is great because it is no carbohydrates, right? So he's actually getting nuts in this too from the almond flour. And nuts and seeds are something that you should eat every single day. So again, something healthier. So see, this is a little dry. Can you see how that's dry and it's not really coming together? So I am going to add a little more applesauce to soften that up. Like such. And I just add until it feels right. Until it just feels right. Like when you're mixing it, you're like, hey, this feels like it's wet enough to be a muffin, but still dry enough to be a muffin. And you're just enhancing that apple flavor in there as well. And then it's less chunks. So if you got a little kid that doesn't like the chunks of apple, you could not put it in there if you don't want to, but all right, that is just about right. Add just a tad more. But think about it. So we've got almonds for the nuts, right? We got bananas. We got fresh apples that are whole, plus the processed apple sauce, which is still a processed food, but it's very minimally processed, so it's considered a green light, or yellow, I should say. And we put the flaxseed in there, anti-cancer, blood pressure lower. And we've got the turmeric in there, which is very anti-cancer. Can't even see it in there. Right, that's about the right texture. Now we're going to add our crushed up apples. That again is going to add a little moisture in there when we bake these. Use a spoon this time to stir these around. And then we just fill up our cups and you bake them at 350 degrees for 22 minutes. And because I'm trying to, make this recipe spread into a 12 instead of originally as a 10, sometimes the muffins, when I'm dosing them out, some are bigger than others. And, but it's all good. It is all good because this is how we do Imperfect Wholeness, right? It's all about taking those small steps, making those adjustments, trying, using what you have on hand. Don't forget, use what you have on hand. It doesn't have to be expensive to try to eat healthier, right? That's like one of the biggest lies is that we tell ourselves, or excuses that we tell ourselves that we can't do it because it's too expensive. And when you're looking at food, it does seem more expensive than going to, say, the drive-thru at a fast food joint. When you're initially looking at it, you're like, I can get a Happy Meal for 10 bucks. Which comes with fries and a burger and a juice or whatever. I don't even know anymore. And if I want to make a burger from scratch, I have to buy the buns and the meat and the cheese. It's going to cost more. Well, you might spend $15 for the ingredients, maybe $20, but you're also going to be able to get more than one burger, right? And you're going to be able to have seconds and thirds, leftovers, whatever. And it does work out to be more. And then you can make it healthier because you can, you know, make sure you know what's going into that, what you're seasoning your fries with, you know, baking them instead of frying them, or, you know, like for me, when I made burger patties the other day for hubby, I took the grass-fed beef, grass-fed, grass-finished organic beef, mixed in a little flaxseed, again, adding a little bit in there, and some fresh garlic. So I made garlic burgers for him, and the garlic, again, super cancer-fighting amazingness, along with the flax. And then I bought, I did buy pre-made hamburger buns, but I got what they're called naked, and so they have like less of the bad ingredients and the oils and salts and things in it. So, and they're light and fluffy. All right, so this is it. They're gonna go in the oven at 350 degrees for 22 minutes. I will meet you on the other side when I'm done.